Welcome! These are horse racing selections for Friday the 20th of September. I am Flatcap Callum. I'm back and I'm hoping you are all very, very well. Alright, welcome to new folk, welcome to regulars, welcome to long-standing veterans of the channel, welcome one and all. I have returned for the autumn, winter, or maybe something like that. Autumn, winter. I'm back for the foreseeable. I'll say the foreseeable because I'll get onto that when I go through some rambly stuff later on. But yes, I am returning. So yeah, it's been a nice break, as most of you know who've been paying attention. I've had a little person join the household to add to the other little people. It's like the Waltons now. It's not that extreme, but. Yeah, so yeah, been quite busy doing baby stuff. Haven't quite cracked the fitness thing, although it's been positive this week. I have been out, done a couple of runs this week, but yeah, the snacks in the last recent time that's not been so good. So we do need to up the exercise, folks. That's what I'm about. So, game plan is I'm just going to do a few house notices for new folk, then I'm going to give you the bet, and then I'm going to give those that like the ramble, they can have the ramble after that, right? Okay, so house notices, bet, and that's like what the channel's about, house notices, the bet, and then we will get into rambles for those who love the ramble. And if you don't like the ramble and the waffle, I mean, you're probably already upset. You've talked for 2 minutes, not even told you a horse tip. Heavens above. It's just the way it goes, I'm afraid. You've got choices out there, folks. There's plenty of choices about where you're going to find your horse inspiration from. So if you want it with a side of waffle or ramble, I'm an expert at that. Am I an expert at horses? I'll let you decide on that one. So, and I'll give you heads up as well. So the bet for Friday is just one bet, 5 horses, some version of a Canadian or Lucky 31 for those who like simple. I've made the bet more complicated than that, but there's 5 horses, and it's £13 channel stake. So that's what's coming up. So house notices. This is a reminder for anyone who's been around, and if you're new, then this is more aimed at you. So I've been running this channel for 2 3/4 years, something like that. Started in January 2022. The aim when I started was I personally make money from horses, and I thought, well, I'll share what I do with people and see if anybody's interested. And knowing that what I do is different to mainstream and different to what a lot of casual punters do, but also what a lot of professional punters would do. It wouldn't touch what I do with a barge pole. What I would say is what I do is baked. The mathematics are baked in, right? So to be successful, you need a multitude of different things, right? To be successful at betting, it's not just about reading form, right? So I spend a lot of time reading form, but reading form and understanding the maths and understanding betting markets, put those 3 together, and that's a helpful place. Chuck in a bit of human psychology as well. I would say that's always helpful. Not to say that if all you do is read form, you can't win. But if you want to actually start looking at margins and profit and that kind of stuff, then understanding maths, understanding betting market patterns and human behaviour, and certainly punters in the UK and Ireland when it comes to where they put the money and how they put the money on, to understand how a betting market's going to move. So what I do is predominantly look for higher price horses, so higher price in the market. So you're not going to find the short price favourites with me. It will be higher price horses. Ultimately, what I'm finding is what I believe is what I would call PV. So people talk about value all the time, and there's a big thing called EV. Some people understand what that is, and that's more to do with mathematics. Specifically, PV, perceived value. So my perception of what the value is, that ultimately what it is. There's some maths in there, right? But some of it is about actually me looking at a race and me literally going through, reading the form, writing my own tissue for what I believe it should be, and working out actually, is there something in there that's got enough of a margin it would make it a bet for me. So I'm trying to find a horse that's 12 to 1 that I should be 5 to 1. That would be a fantastic bet. That's what I'd be doing. there is margin to be had for those that like looking at, trying to find a horse that's 2-1 that should be 6-4. That isn't my gig. And some of you have watched, and over the years I've chucked in a few win tricks and that kind of stuff. Not planning to do that going forward. It's just going to be focused on high prices, although there are some other stuff that will change, and I'll get onto that in the ramble bit. But predominantly double figure price horses is what you'll find most of the time with me. And some days there might be 1 or 2 or 3 selections. Some days there might be, like today, there's 5. Other days you could have 10. And what I do on here is I put them into an advised staking plan. And when I say advised staking plan, physically the money you'll see that's down there I put on in the name of the channel. It's not indicative of my own personal betting in terms of the amounts that I put on, but from a channel point of view, what I'm trying to illustrate to people is the difference in weighting I would put on different types of bets depending on what my strength of feeling was in terms of the value, the difference I would put on between singles versus multiple bets. Lots of people will tell you that multiple bets are bad, so as in lucky 15s are bad, and that's what mug punters do, and that's what the bookies love. It all comes down to the value. If you've got the value on a horse in a single bet, then if you've got 4 horses that are all value on a single bet, that are all a higher price than they should be, then the value multiplies. So therefore, a lucky 15 bet is a good bet. You might have to wait longer, and you'll have, in terms of for big wins, and there'll be much bigger appearance of what you would call variance, i.e. you'll have long losing runs doing it that way, as opposed to just betting them single. But if you're betting value horses in multiples, you will win more in the long term by betting in multiples. If you are betting bad value horses, i.e. that's the one I think, or just picking your favourite colour, whatever that might be, and chucking those in there, then that bet is bad, because if the value was bad in the first place, you might get lucky and have one that was good, but if ultimately the value is bad on most of them, it will multiply bad value, and those bets are bad. So multiple bets are good if you are selecting value-based horses, and whether that is because from experience you're looking at the right markets and you know how to read form, whether that's because you understand mathematics and you understand some of the edge that you might have. There's channels out there on YouTube that focus on that kind of stuff reasonably successfully. What I do is understand the maths, apply some of the maths, but actually try and beat the maths by form reading. That's the attempt I'm trying to do. So I started back in January 2022, and people found the channel and wanted to watch. What you won't get here is any fireworks, any jazzy graphics. I am absolutely deliberately rustic in what I do. I'm not going to show you replays of racing TV, and I'm going to put you up betting market things or racing post form or whatever, that kind of stuff. I'm just going to talk. That's what I do. Some people choose not to talk. Some people choose not to have their face on the screen. I think it's a video, it's YouTube, so not that I think everybody wants to look at my face, but what I do think is, by seeing somebody, you're more invested in the actual person, and you're making a bit more of a human connection. And I've met some lovely people from doing this channel, and some digitally and some in real life. So I choose to talk to the screen, and what I will do at some point is put up Sharpies and a notepad. That's how I work. That's not how I work in like my general day to day. I have spreadsheets and use notes on my phone for lots and lots of stuff in terms of recording data and things in there. But as far as a channel goes, Sharpies and a notepad, that is my trademark. So no music, no, and things like my thumbnail will always be consistent. It will tell you what the date is and what race meetings we're using. That's what it says. That will always be the same. I never retrospectively go and change it and go boom, winner, whatever. That isn't my style. I'm not here to try and get the most people on YouTube. I'm not here to make money off you. I'm not here to make money off YouTube. I've got the channel's grown to a point where it's monetized, but that's like £3 or £4 a video, right? So I can win far more money if I pay attention in that time doing betting, but I enjoy doing it, and what I've built on YouTube is a bit of a community, and I'm very proud of that fact. I'm very humbled by that fact as well, and so I've come back to carry on, and a bit of redemption, because those of you who were with me prior to my long-term break, I've come back for odd days and bits and bobs, but at the start of the year we had 2 fine weeks, and then we had 10 weeks of of just my worst 10 weeks of betting effort. It was absolutely hateful. So for the year, we are significantly down. Again, I'll use all the stats in the ramble later on. But yeah, this is a ramble, isn't it? Let's be honest. But so we're having a bad year as far as channel goes. When I officially stopped end of March, the days I've come back ultimately haven't helped either. So it slightly compounded it. So the aim here is at least in the time I come back to the end of the year to try and make some sort of profit. That would be good. I've made profit 2022 and 2023 on the channel. And the absolute ultimate goal would be to try and reverse the fortunes of everything that's gone down at the start of the year. That would be the ultimate goal. But I will always say to you, I never make you a promise on here about what we can do in terms of achieving profit. I don't know if the horses are going to win. I can just tell you whether it's good value. I'm not giving you a tip. I'm telling you the horse is overpriced for the chances of it making the frame. And there's a clear distinction there. I say make the frame, and you'll hear me talk about make the frame a lot. Unlike most people, I don't research to go, that is the horse that has the best chance of winning. I don't do that because that's what most people do. What most people don't do is go, that horse has got the best chance of framing, and if you actually look at its place chances of odds, so let's take an example of a 25 to 1 horse, is that 5 to 1 chance of placing? I will say, usually, looking at that kind of stuff, that actually I might think it's like a 3 to 1 chance of placing, so therefore it should be more like 15 to 1 if that respect. So it's not to say that I won't have winners. I will have winners. They're probably less frequent than if you want to back 2 to 1 favourites. So if you get your kicks out of having a winner most days, I'm not him. That's not me. So what I'm trying to do is string together places. The best days will come from when we string winners together. But they are the kind of the standout days that if I did it every day for the whole year, you'd be talking about 3 or 4 really good days if you look at the history of the channel. But on regular days, we're trying to find 5 horse bet tomorrow. 3 of those place in will just get us probably a smidgen of a profit depending on what the prices are. 2 winners or 4 places is what we'd want out of that. So you have to have a lot of losing days. I'll lose more days than I win. I'll probably lose more weeks than I win. The aim is to win more months than I lose, which is what I've done the previous 2 years. But in order to do that for this year, we would need to win September, October, November and December because we lost January, February, March. So that would be the aim. I think that's it. Other than just to reiterate, it is all free, right? I do this out of my own. It's in my own time. It's my hobby to do YouTube, is what I would describe. Racing's a bit more than that, but YouTube is my hobby. I like doing it. I won't do it forever. I had a 6-month break. I've come back, and I'm not going to be back for years and years and years. And so yeah, that is me. All right. The other thing I'll say is you'll never hear me talk about the wins or the biggest win I've ever had that wasn't on the channel. I'm not here to sell you some bluff about how great I am when you're not looking at me, right? So I'm here to only talk about the statistics that happen whilst the channel's on. So if you ask me what's my biggest ever win, I'll tell you what the biggest win on the channel was. I'm not going to tell you outside of that because it's all relative to whatever stake you're doing, what have you. I'm trying to do this in manageable stakes. So the average day stake historically has always been 20 quid on the channel. I've changed a few things, and to be honest, I don't know quite where it's going to work out, but it would absolutely be less than that. So the average day stake in the channel going forward will be less than 20 quid. It's always been 20 quid. It will be less, but I haven't quite worked out where it's got to. I think maybe around the £10 mark, £12 mark. That's probably where the average day stake might be on the channel now. All right. I'm going to stop because I said I was going to do an intro and then it's gone on for 40 minutes and I'll have at least 3 people having a moan. So let's do the bet. We'll do the ramble. Here's the bet. So, right, we're back on and this Friday's got significance as well. I would say that. This corresponding first Friday, we had a massive win in 2022. Then 2023, we did a channel meetup at Kempton. And I had my worst statistical day ever betting at Kempton on the day we met at the channel. So there's some significance on the channel. Also for Friday, it's Air Bronze Cup day. I don't have a selection for the Air Bronze Cup. I didn't like it. There's a couple in there that I thought were a bit marginal, but I've left them off the bet. And we've got the return of Dundalk. As regulars will know, I love Dundalk. Only got 1 horse in there for today. So that's in there, and Kempton is one of my favourite tracks, so that is in there. What we don't have this year that we did have last year, which starts on Sunday, I think it's Monday, is the 7-day Listowel meeting in Ireland. So what you'll see here is I do bet UK, Ireland, sometimes France. I'll go to Dubai potentially. Sometimes very rarely in the States, so I might do something for Breeders' Cup, but not very often. But I will have a look at everything. I'm not into Hong Kong racing. I know Shane, regular on the channel, is always talking about Hong Kong racing. I haven't got the time to go and look at that. I'm busy enough with all the other bits I'm looking at. So that's where we find ourselves. So anyway, I can't help myself, can I? Right, here's the bet: 4:05 Newbury Witness Stand. It's a listed race, and what's drawn me this horse? I think it's worth paying to find out is basically what I'd say. Like sometimes I say it's not worth paying to find out. I'd rather watch the race. I think it's worth paying to find out whether this horse is as progressive as the profile suggests. The last 2 times it's run, both at Goodwood, last time on good to soft ground, good to soft forecast at Newbury as well. It ran an absolute cracker of a race based on ratings. And if you took that as literal, then that horse absolutely should be framing in this race all day long. The question mark is, was that like sort of standout Goodwood? Because that can happen. You can have a horse that performs in an amazing race at Goodwood and then doesn't seem to repeat it anywhere else. Is it that? But it is a 3-year-old, so it's got time on its side to progress. And I just thought a double figure price about that horse Witness Stand. It was worth trying in the bet because I don't think there's anything else in the race that's like a superstar, and that one does look the most progressive, and I was just surprised to see the price it was. So Witness Stand starts us off 4:05 Newbury. Then we're going to the bumper at Downpatrick. So I'm a bit of a fan of bumpers. I know a lot of folk will just leave them completely alone. But 5:35 Downpatrick, Mrs. McGoo, I think, or Mrs. MC Mrs. MC Mrs. McGo, something like that. Another 10-1 shot. If you ignore last time, I think it ran an absolute donkey race at Kilbeggan and something went funny with it. If you take that as just line through, then it's got the best form in the race. There's a horse, I think it's the even money favourite at the time I made this video, it's Emmett Mullen's horse. That horse has won a bumper, and you'd think that's maybe got a little bit more to go, so it's the right favourite. This, if it wasn't for the last race, that would be second favourite. It's got the best form in the book, and it's run 3 bumpers to a pretty consistent stand. One of them was at Downpatrick, but a couple of other places too, and on good ground. So I think the horse has got a lot going for it, but a bit like Witness Stand. Witness Stand, the question mark is, was Goodwood stand out? The question mark there is, was Kilbeggan so bad that you just ignore it? They're the 2 question marks. If it wasn't for those 2 things and those horses, you'd probably have those maybe half the price. Then we're going to go for our Dundalk horse. I've looked through the Dundalk stuff, and most people think Dundalk's a minefield. It is, but I still do all right in Dundalk. This is the one for me. There's lots of races where I've just spent a lot of probably too much time looking through them, and Inchquid Maid is the one that's come out to me, and it's been running over jumps recently. It's been campaigned over jumps, so it's fit. So we know it's fit, and it's not particularly made to be a jumper horse. If you go back to a couple of years when it was running in maidens, it ran very consistently over course and distance for Dundalk. I think the very first run, it was probably his best run it ever did on the flat in terms of ratings point of view. But I think because it's one of those ones that's sort of it'll get left alone a little bit because it's been running over jumps all season. If you go back at the flat form, it's off a rating of 63, which is really competitive. So 20-1, I thought was a great price for that horse. So I mean, I'll go through the star system in a second, but it just nudges in to be the best horse. It's the biggest price, but it's also the best value of those 5. And then we're going to go 7:45 Kempton Tortured Soul 16-1. That one's coming off a bit of a break, and that would be a slight question mark on that one. So what you'll notice a lot with my selections is they come with a question mark, and the debate I will often have is that the bias that the betting market has is too great, and I think it's worth trying against that bias. So the bias against this one is it's coming from a bit of a break. and also the last couple of runs it had, it seemed to. Some would say it tailed off. I wouldn't have said that. I just said it just sort of plateaued a little bit, because was it Tony Carroll? So Tony Carroll got this horse from Ger Lyons from Ireland. He won on debut for Tony Carroll, and then won something like 6 out of 7. 2 of them at Kempton over a mile and a half. This is a mile and 3, and won for a range of jockeys. So it's not a temperamental horse. Different jockeys have ridden it. I think Clifford Lee's won on it. Ross Ryan's won on it. It's got Gina Mangan up this time. And yeah, it definitely you would go question mark. It's coming off a few months break, and you question mark. Tony Carroll's not in any great shape form. Gina Mangan is, but from a handicap point of view, its best performance I think since coming to UK was over a mile and a half at Kempton. So you've only got a furlong, a furlong less here. And if it's coming back on the same sort of form it left on, I think it could be competitive at a decent enough price. And then 8.15 Kempton, little debate on that one, Largo Bay, because it is a basement rate handicap, but it's just got such good form, consistent form over Kempton. And the last 3 times it's run at Kempton over a mile and a half. This is a mile and a half again. It's been third. It's won over Kempton, and it's, as I said, it's been third the last 3 times it's run over course and distance, and this time it's off a lower handicap mark than those. So there's no reason I can see why that horse wouldn't run competitively. Whether it's good enough to win, there's probably a debate. It's not as good as it used to be, but I think it's good enough to be competitive. So just as a little flag on there, because I'll get into star system afterwards, but this is what we're introducing. It's new. First 2 are both 1 stars, and the next 3 are 2-star horses. So you can do what you want with those, and I'll explain how I work the staking later. But as far as staking goes, it's complicated. I'm sorry. 10 times 20p win doubles. So win doubles. That's all we're doing. We're not doing each way doubles. So win doubles. So on a 5-horse bet, I just think when you're putting 10 place bets on, unless you've got some big prices in there, it's not really worth the potential return. So 10 times 20p win doubles. And then we've got 10 times 15p each way trebles. So each way trebles and 15p is the denomination. 5 times 15p each way fourfolds. So that's any combination of 4. And then a 25p each way fivefold. If you are so inclined, you could just do a 15p each way Canadian. It'd come out 7.80. What I'm doing is £7. You could go and do yourself like a 10p each way Canadian for 5.20. So Canadian or Super Yankees, that's everything without singles. So what you'll see then is I've got more money on the singles, and for those of you who are regular followers, you'll know that's more than we used to do. So I'm putting more weighting onto single bets. So what I've got there is the 2 10s and 11 to 1. So Witness Stand, Mrs. MC Go, and Largo Bay. They are all £3 times £1 win singles. That's what we've got on those. And then the 2 bigger ones there are 75p each way singles. That is what we've got. So 3 £1 win singles on the shorter prices, and 2 75p each way singles on the bigger prices. Total's 13. You can decide however you want to do this, whether you ignore any of the selections, you want to do 2, 3 or 4 of them, play it how I've done it, but this is what the channel stake is going on. And just as a reminder, this isn't changing. At the time of making the video, I need at least 3 major bookies to be paid to have those prices, and I'll take the place terms that at least 3 major bookies have at the time of the race. So that is £13. Sky Bet is the best bookie for this one. That is what you're looking at there. So Sky Bet is best. All right, that's the bet. And then I was going to spin you through a few bits and finish up. But I'll just try and canter through a few things. So stats wise, when we left last time I did a video, it added up to bets placed this year £1,150.50, £712 return, a deficit of £438.10. Not great. Overall, since the channel started, £12,273.70 wagered, £14,887.32 return, £2,613.62, 21.29% profit margin on that. So overall, History Channel was good. The 10 weeks that I ended was just my worst 10 weeks ever. I mean, I said I'm not going to go into like bets off the channel, but I wouldn't have come back if I wasn't confident that that was just a horrendous blip. So through the summer it's been going all right. So it's not like I've just carried on losing, otherwise I wouldn't come back. I do want to make the point, I take great responsibility from the fact that lots of people watch what I'm doing and choose to follow me, and therefore if I thought it was going terrible, I would stop doing it. And yeah, it feels terrible when it is going terrible and other people are then losing their money. The point here is I'm betting pence, right? I'm not someone who's going to tell you I'm betting 40-50 pounds on a horse for the channel. Personally, I don't talk to you about what I'm betting personally as far as the channel goes here, because I'm not trying to encourage people to bet large amounts. I'm trying to here to educate people, help people who potentially are long-term losing gamblers, who might be bet a couple of quid a day, 10 quid on a Saturday, whatever it might be. That's where I'm aiming at. I'm not trying to teach anyone to be a professional, and I'm not trying to encourage people. It's one of my bugbears when people start going £50 each way on a horse or whatever it might be, or £40 a point on a horse. That isn't how a lot of people live in their means. And even if you are convinced that you are going to win every time on those things, or win most of the time, or win long term, still it is not a comfortable amount of money for the regular folk to bet. And if you're just earning 25 grand or 30 grand, or you're getting a pension, you're not going to be wanting to bet £40 on a horse unless you've got some sort of massive stash of cash in the bank. So we do real term cash here. So for some people it might sound too small fry and they might ignore it, but it's up to them. This is what the channel's done. The channel's put 13 quid down. So that's that. Few things to tell you on here. So star system. So the star system is in. I've been, ever since I took my break, I've been working on a star system. I've refined it. And basically this is a way of me trying to indicate to you the amount of value I believe in the horse. So it's not specifically just the price. It's a whole bunch of other stuff. So the way that I work the star system is I'll go through read the form like I would normally do. I put up my shortlist, and then I basically put every single horse through a set of a gazillion, there's loads of it, like through basically a set of criteria through an algorithm to come out. And I say an algorithm, that sounds like I'm doing it quite manual, to be fair, because most of it's objective. There's a little bit of subjective in there. So I put it through the criteria to come out with actually where I'm at from a price point of view, to make a star system. So if you've ever done it before, I mean, I'm going to talk more about it in another video, but it's really quite tricky to try and completely relook at what you're doing, break it down. So the way it works for the channel is horses will be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 star. They have to be a star to get on the channel, unless it's a really competitive race and I'm going to give you my best horse in a kind of a big field handicap type one that might not make a star system, and there'll be occasionally like out the box selections. As far as Fridays go, they're all on the star system. So 1, 2, 3 or 4 or 5, most horses are going to be a 1 or a 2 star. 3 or 4. So in testing, I think give an example, I think I looked at a stat before the video. In the last 110 days I've had 3 5-star horses. That's all I've had. And if you're interested, the first one came stone last, and the next 2 placed 18s and 40s. So profit would have been out off the 5-star ones, but 3 in 110 days. So mostly 1 or 2 stars. So far, I'm not happy enough with the difference between the 1 and 2 stars to change the stake on it. So from the channel, I'll tell you that it's a 1 or a 2 star, but I need more data before I'll actually do anything different with the stake. It's too marginal. So 1 or 2 stars will get treated same on the channel. You'll see that when we get to a 3 star, then the amount of single money on the singles will go up, 4 star and 5 star. And when we get to 3, 4, 5 star, then I might put them in additional doubles as well. So if it's 1 or 2 star, it will be treated the same at the moment, unless I've got, till I've got more data to show there's a true difference in what I'm doing. But I think it might be that the criteria is just a bit marginal. So it makes more of a difference when I start getting to 3, 4, 5 stars. Some of you might just like to play along and only play 3, 4 or 5 stars. Evidence in when I've been proofing it over the last few months is that obviously would yield a profit. What's that? Not obviously, it did yield a profit when I did it. The big caveat with all this, most of it's been proofed over the summer, and therefore that is flat turf season. And so I can't guarantee what's going to happen with the star system when I move into predominantly the all-weather season. What I have still struggled with, which I was struggling with before, is UK jumps handicaps. That is one little niche. Well, not, it's quite a big niche. For whatever reason, it's not. I haven't quite got. It's sort of just not working, and I don't know if it's something I'm doing or something that's changed in the way the races are. But if I look at everything else, so I'm looking at UK flat handicaps, all weather. I'm looking at listed group races. I'm looking at Irish jumps, Irish flat, Irish listed, Irish bumpers. I'm looking at French racing. All of those things, I'm coming out with a very similar strike rate through what I'm doing for Star System. But UK jump handicaps is not working, so there'll be minimal of that. So most of what you're going to see between sort of now and Christmas, going to be more all weather and Irish, and there'll be minimal UK jumps handicaps. And the other thing that I'm not satisfied with, that I won't be doing as well, is 2-year-old maiden novices on the flat. That's another little niche that is still not quite coming out with stats. That's the star system. Overall betting wise, I know it's a bit complicated today because I had 5 horses. That's how I'm going to do a 5-horse bet every time. So letting you know that. So if it's 4-horse bet, it'll be straightforward Yankee, and 3 will be Trixie. But 5-horse bet, it will be like that, because I don't want. It would be easier to do 15p each way Canadian. It would be 80p more, but I worked out the way that I'm staking it with win doubles and each way trebles, 4-folds and 5-folds, and I'm more comfortable with that. You do what you want to do with that, but the single amounts are much bigger than what you've seen. But overall, that's because I'm going to have a lot less selections. So there'll be lots of days where it'll be one horse, 2 horse, 3 horse. There'll be less days with big multiple bets and less days where like I might be putting out 12, 15 horses like I have done before. There'll also be less combination doubles, so I'm still doing those but less of them. There will be forecasts. I didn't really do much of that before, but I've been working on forecast and tricast, so I'll be doing a bit of forecast tricast, which might also mean on very occasional days there might be some win combination double bets as well. That might be coming. What else am I going to tell you? Thursday nights, so the videos are going to be this time, so I've ended I think doing Wednesday to Sunday. Going forward, Thursday night video is going to be the main video of the week. So big video with a bit of a ramble. That is there. Right, I'm going to end it there because I think I can hear a baby crying and I might need to go and do some milk. So I'll stop there. All right, been a pleasure. Yeah, I'll talk to you more in the next video. Thank you very much. Sorry for the abrupt ending, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.